I'm going to make a start. Hello and welcome to this Chemical Conversations podcast, brought to you by Argus Media. In this edition, we'll be discussing the latest developments in the US and global polyurethanes market, ahead of the Centre for the Polyurethanes Industry's annual Polyurethanes Technical Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, USA next week. I'm James Elliott, and I'm joined by Laura Tovey-Fall, our global polyurethanes editor, and Catherine Rabe, our US polyurethanes reporter. Laura, Catherine, hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Catherine, the first question to you. With the CPI conference taking place next week, can you share some of the latest developments in the US market for MDI, TDI, and polyols?
Sure, James. At the top of everyone's mind right now is the polyol market. There's been some tightening in supply this month due to constraints in propylene oxide. Two propylene oxide producers were experiencing supply restrictions in August, and this has now limited a polyol producer in September. This tightening of supply, coupled with multiple feedstock propylene price increases in prior months, has led to increased price announcements being accepted in September. On the other side, the MDI market has balanced as supply constraints earlier in the summer have all been resolved and market demand is rather steady. Some participants are seeing demand begin to drop off as we reach the fourth quarter, but this is the typically slower season at the end of the year. And PMDI and MMDI prices were flat from August and to September after some rises through the last few months. The TDI market has been very stagnant this year. Downstream consumer demand has been lagging. One producer is expected to go down for planned maintenance in September or October, but supply has been pretty long in the US, so market participants are not concerned.
Thanks, Catherine. Laura, can you add a global perspective?
Sure. At the moment, we're seeing a few changing dynamics, some long-term, some short-term. In the current economic environment, there's limited demand growth for both isocyanates and polyols, as segments such as construction and consumer spending are suffering in major markets including China and Europe. What we are seeing instead is something of a reshuffle between where the raw materials are produced compared to where they are consumed. So as Catherine mentioned, there have been limitations for MDI production in the US in recent months, which has prompted stronger flows from Europe to not only the US, but also markets normally supported by the US, including Mexico and elsewhere in Latin America. But because domestic European prices are only slightly below US prices, by the time you factor in freight into the equation, that's not likely to be a long-term dynamic. In polyols, high freight costs have been keeping the regions quite isolated, really crushing interregional seaborne trade for the time being, although I do hear of some short-term exports from Europe towards the US market because of the supply tightness there, which Catherine has mentioned. The European market has been stable at fairly low level in terms of price for several months now, and it's a similar situation in Asia. In both China and Europe, polyols prices are below nominal PO prices, which is obviously not sustainable for producers.
Thanks, Laura. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening in China in the markets?
China's domestic MDI market is another one to watch. Argus launched spot prices for TDI, PMDI and MMDI in the domestic China market this month, and we've been following the market closely long before that. At the moment, the domestic Chinese market is priced higher than either the US or European domestic markets in dollars per tonne. This is partly because there has been a series of maintenance turnarounds that have limited China's production capacity in recent months, and stocks have run down. Most capacity is back now. There was an estimated operational rate of about 92% in China for MDI this week, but still PMD prices moved up. Domestic demand is quite stagnant, but demand from the appliance sector, for example, things like washing machines and fridges, has been firmer, as exports of appliances have grown year on year in January to July. And net exports have also been rising. Net PMDI exports from China in January to July were almost 550,000 tonnes. That's up by over 6% from the same period last year, and that in turn was up about 6% higher from the first 7 months of 2022. These exports have mostly been going to the US and then to Europe, some to Russia, some to Turkey.
Really interesting dynamics at the moment then. What would you advise our listeners in the polyurethanes industry to watch out for in the coming weeks? And Laura, would you like to go first?
Absolutely. At the moment, supply side movements are really driving pricing dynamics. Demand for both isocyanates and polyols, it's not really expected to pick up across the remainder of the year in either Europe or Asia, but capacity limitations or short-term supply squeezes are really able to move the market quite strongly. We saw this in Europe late last year, and it's happening again in the TDI market now, as maintenance outages, delayed imports, capacity limitations have supported the market price despite very weak demand. If demand were to rise in any significant manner, there just isn't the slack of the flexibility in the system to supply it in the short term. So which assets are offline and when is the main driving factor behind the European market at the moment. And then whether freight prices fall sufficiently to make Europe an attractive market for more imports from other regions again, such as South Korea and the Middle East. We are seeing pockets of growth for isocyanates elsewhere, India, Latin America, particularly Brazil, and to a point Turkey. And it will be interesting to see how that develops.
And Catherine, how about for the US?
In the US, there are 2 MDI turnarounds anticipated in the fourth quarter. Some market participants have expressed concern over tightening supply during this time, while others feel covered by imports or other domestic production and are expecting demand to be quiet towards the end of the year. We are also keeping an eye on a potential union strike at ports across the East and Gulf Coast that would begin on the 1st of October if an agreement is not reached. Across the value chain, though, participants have said they expect the container ship segment would bear the brunt of that disruption, but there is still concern over delays and increased freight rates. Also, hurricane season technically goes for a little bit longer. Also, hurricane season technically goes for a few more months, and with so much production on the Gulf Coast, a hurricane can quickly tighten the market due to unplanned outages.
Laura, Catherine, thanks for sharing your insights. We've got an interesting but no doubt challenging end to the year. It will be really interesting to see the mood at the CPI next week. For more information about our polyurethanes market coverage, or if you would like to meet us at the CPI in Atlanta, then please get in touch. Thanks for listening. Well, I think that went really well.
I think that went incredibly well. Brilliant job,
Nice.
everyone.
That was
Did I
amazing.
speak too fast? Because that
No,
was
no, not at all. I could pick up
Oh.
every word. I think that sounded fantastic.
Oh, excellent. I thought I was gabbling at the end.
No, it was great.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, really great. James, could I ask you just to do that very last bit again and refer to the CPI being this week because this will be published next week?
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry
Is that
about that.
okay? No,
Yeah.
no, it's all right.
Um,
I'll just let you update the script if that's easier, but
Won't it be next week, though? Sorry, James. If it's published, you
Yep.
mean like the 23rd through the 27th? CPI is that starts on the 30th.
oh, does it? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought it was started at the back end of next week. Then that was fine.
okay, cool.
Brilliant. Oh, fantastic. A really good job, everyone. I thought it was everyone was super clear, a really good message, and short, snappy, and sweet. Perfect.
Cool.
Sweet.
I guess that's it.
I guess that is it. Yeah.
Well, come back
Yeah.
to us if you need anything
Yeah, of course,
redoing
we'll do.
or what have you.
Yeah, I'll get that over to the creative team and share a link around when it goes live.
Do you want us
Excellent.
to sign off on it first, Daphne?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I think we've asked the creative team to do a quick turnaround on this, so I should have that on Monday. And if you wanted to give it a listen through and just check it's all been put together, I mean, to be honest, I think it was pretty much a one take, just so it should be as you remember it. But of course, you can sign off on it first.
Okay, sounds great. All right, thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks again, everyone.
Cool.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.